The rain pattered against the windows of Hana Park's small suburban home as she finished drying the dinner dishes. Her two teenagers had already disappeared upstairs, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the gentle hum of the dishwasher. At 42, Hana had settled into a comfortable routine as a veterinarian and single mother, her days filled with caring for animals at her clinic and her evenings dedicated to her children. Tonight was supposed to be like any other Tuesday night. Hana planned to curl up with a book and a cup of tea before bed. She had just settled onto the couch when a strange blue light flashed outside her living room window. At first, she thought it might be lightning, but the clear, pulsing glow was unlike anything she'd ever seen before. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps that somehow seemed urgent despite their gentleness. Hana approached the door cautiously, peering through the peephole. What she saw made her step back in shock. A familiar face, one she hadn't seen in 15 years, stared back at her. But something was wrong. Very wrong. "Day?" she whispered as she opened the door. Her old college friend stood swaying on her porch, his skin ashen with an odd bluish tint that she'd once believed was a rare medical condition. Now she knew better. The last time they'd met, he'd shown her his true form before disappearing from her life completely. "Hana," he gasped, his voice carrying an echo like 2 people speaking at once. "I didn't know where else to go." Before she could respond, Dai collapsed forward into her arms. His body felt unusually light, almost weightless. Hana dragged him inside and closed the door, heart pounding as she helped him to the couch. "You shouldn't be here," she said, checking his pulse. It fluttered strangely against her fingertips, too fast, too irregular. "You said it was dangerous." Day's eyes, now shifting between human brown and their natural luminescent purple, fixed on her face. "I'm dying, Hana. The journey back to Earth took everything I had left. Let me call someone, a doctor." "No doctor can help me." Day reached into his jacket with trembling hands and pulled out 2 objects. The first was a crystal the size of a smartphone that glowed with swirling colors from within. The second was a small pod that resembled a smooth, pearlescent egg. "Everything I have is now yours," he whispered, pressing both items into her hands. "My fortune, my legacy, and my child." Hana stared at the objects in confusion. "Your child? Day, what are you talking about?" A sad smile crossed his face. "I should have told you years ago. On my world, I was something like royalty. My family controls resources across 3 galaxies, and now they'll come looking for what's mine." As if responding to his words, the pod in Hana's hands began to warm. Tiny cracks appeared on its surface, spreading like delicate lightning bolts across the shell. "You were the only human who accepted me when you learned the truth," Day continued, his voice growing fainter. "The only one I could trust with this. Please, Hana, promise me." "Promise you what?" Hana asked, panic rising in her throat as Day's body began to shimmer slightly, particles of light floating up from his skin. "Promise you'll protect my child. Teach it to love this world as I have." Before Hana could answer, the pod in her hands split open completely. Inside, nestled in a bed of soft glowing material, was a tiny infant. Its skin was pale blue, and when it opened its eyes, all 3 of them, they shone with the same purple light as Day's. "This is impossible," Hana whispered. Day reached out with the last of his strength to touch the baby's cheek. "Nothing is impossible. That's what you taught me." His hand began to dissolve into particles of light. "The crystal contains everything you need to know. Instructions, access to my accounts, warnings about those who will come looking." Hana watched in horror as her friend's body continued to break apart into stardust. "Day, don't go. I don't understand any of this." "You will," he said, his voice now coming from everywhere and nowhere. "You're the smartest person I've ever known on any world. That's why I chose you." The baby in the pod made a soft cooing sound, drawing Hana's attention. When she looked back up, Day was gone, completely dissolved into particles of light that slowly faded away, leaving nothing behind but a faint, sweet scent like jasmine and ozone. In the sudden silence of her living room, the reality of what had just happened hit Hana all at once. She was holding an alien baby. Her friend had just died and given her his fortune, and people, other aliens, would be coming. The baby made another sound, this time more insistent. When Hana looked down, she saw that it had reached one tiny six-fingered hand toward her face, its three eyes blinking in perfect synchronization. "Oh, my God," Hana whispered. "What am I supposed to do with you?" As if in answer, the crystal in her hand pulsed once, projecting a small hologram of Day's face above its surface. "Hello, Hana," the recording began. "If you're seeing this, then I've reached you in time. There's so much to explain and not enough time to explain it all." Upstairs, Hana heard a door open. Her daughter's voice called down, "Mom, who are you talking to?" Hana looked at the alien baby in one hand and the glowing crystal in the other. Her ordinary life as a veterinarian and mother had just become something extraordinary, and she had absolutely no idea what would happen next. "Just a minute, honey," she called back, her mind racing. "I've got a situation down here." The baby gurgled and, to Hana's astonishment, floated a few inches above her palm. Hana hadn't slept in 36 hours. Between caring for a baby that occasionally phased through solid objects and hiding its existence from her curious teenagers, she was running on nothing but coffee and adrenaline. "Stay visible, please," she whispered to the infant, who she'd temporarily named Tay. The baby gurgled happily from the makeshift crib she'd constructed, a laundry basket lined with blankets and surrounded by a circle of nightlights. Tay seemed to crave light the way human babies craved milk. Across the kitchen table lay the crystal Day had given her. She'd managed to activate it last night after the kids went to bed, but the holographic interface was overwhelming. Strange symbols and charts had projected into her kitchen, casting her walls in an otherworldly blue glow. She'd quickly shut it off when she heard footsteps on the stairs. "Mom, did you sleep down here again?" Her son Jin stood in the doorway, school backpack slung over one shoulder. At 16, he was already taller than Hana, his concerned eyes taking in her disheveled appearance. "I was working on something," she said, discreetly sliding a dish towel over the crystal. "Don't worry about me." "You look terrible," Jin said bluntly. "And what's with all the nightlights? Our electric bill is going to be insane." Hana forced a smile. "Just a little project. Aren't you late for school?" After Jin left and her daughter, Sue, rushed out minutes later, Hana checked on Tay. The baby was contentedly absorbing light from a sunbeam streaming through the window, his blue skin taking on a slight glow. "Okay," she muttered, pulling the crystal out again. "Let's figure you out." This time she was prepared for the holographic display. Steeling herself, she touched the largest symbol, what looked like a spiral with 3 branches. The kitchen, filled with a 3-dimensional star map, countless points of light rotating slowly around her. One cluster of stars pulsed red and a computerized voice spoke in a language she didn't understand. I can't understand you," Hana said. The hologram flickered, then reformed. English language detected. It said in a voice unnervingly, similar to Day's. Translating interface. The star map vanished, replaced by what looked like a document. "Last will and testament of Day, first heir of the 7th house of Lumina," the voice read. "To my dear friend Hana Park of Earth, I bequeath the following. Guardianship of my child, born of the royal bloodline. Ownership of all holdings in the Andromeda sector, including mining operations on 17 planets. Access to my personal accounts totaling approximately 43 billion galactic credits." Hana nearly choked. "Billion?" "Current Earth conversion, approximately $872 trillion, the crystal added helpfully. "That's impossible," Hana whispered, sinking into a chair. "That's more than the entire Earth's economy." "Correction," the crystal replied. "It is approximately 4% of Earth's total economic output. Would you like to arrange a transfer to Earth currencies?" "No," Hana said quickly. "No transfers. Just continue." The will continued, detailing properties across multiple star systems, transportation vessels, including 3 light-jump-capable cruisers, and something called atmospheric harmonizers that Day had apparently installed around Earth's solar system for observation purposes. As legal guardian of the royal heir, the crystal continued, you are entitled to use all resources at your disposal for the child's protection and education. However, be warned that members of the seventh house will contest this will. They never approved of my Earth studies or my friendship with humans. A new hologram appeared, a rotating image of a planet with 3 moons and sprawling cities that seemed to be made of crystal and light. My homeworld, Lumina, the crystal explained. The royal family will send representatives once they detect my death. They will attempt to reclaim the child and the inheritance. They must not succeed. Hana glanced at Tay, who was now floating a few inches above the laundry basket, tiny arms reaching toward the sunbeam. Why me? She asked. Why would he leave everything to me? The crystal pulsed, accessing personal messages. Day's face appeared, looking much healthier than when she'd last seen him. Hana, the recording said, if you're watching this, I didn't survive to explain everything. I'm sorry to burden you with this responsibility, but you're the only one I trust. On my world, we've evolved beyond many things, but we've lost something crucial along the way. Compassion. The ability to care for something different from ourselves. When you discovered what I really was, you didn't fear me or try to exploit me. You simply accepted me. Hana remembered that day 15 years ago. Dai had trusted her enough to reveal his true form. She hadn't screamed or run. She'd been fascinated, asking questions about his world, his people. My child needs that compassion. Day continued. Our civilization is dying because we've forgotten how to adapt, how to care for anything but ourselves. I want my child to learn what I learned from you, how to love despite differences. The inheritance isn't just wealth, it's a chance to create a bridge between our worlds. The recording flickered. There's so much more to explain. The crystal contains everything: language lessons, cultural information, defensive protocols. You'll need them when they come. When who comes? Hana asked, though she already knew the answer. The seventh house enforcers. They'll arrive within your lunar cycle. They'll try to take everything: the child, the crystal, the inheritance. They don't believe humans capable of raising one of our kind. Day's recorded face looked pained. Prove them wrong, Hana. The hologram disappeared just as Tay began to cry, a strange musical sound that made the lights flicker. Hana rushed to the baby, whose third eye had opened fully for the first time, glowing intensely. As she picked up the infant, the crystal pulsed again. Warning: unidentified spacecraft entering Earth's atmosphere. Estimated arrival, 3 days. Hana held Tay close, feeling the baby's unusual heartbeat, faster than a human's, with an extra beat every third pulse. 3 days, she whispered. 3 days to learn how to protect an alien baby from its own family, using an inheritance I don't understand. Tay's crying softened as Hana rocked him. One tiny 6-fingered hand reached up, touching her cheek. In that instant, she felt a wave of emotion, not her own but Tay's. Trust, comfort, recognition. Don't worry, she told the baby, a new determination filling her. They're not taking you anywhere. Outside, storm clouds gathered suddenly in the clear sky, as if responding to her words. Hana didn't notice, too focused on scrolling through the crystal's defensive protocols with one hand while cradling the universe's most valuable baby with the other. She had a lot to learn, and very little time to learn it. The morning dawned clear and crisp, a stark contrast to the storm clouds that had been gathering for the past 3 days. Hana stood in her backyard sipping coffee and watching Tay play with sunbeams. The baby alien had grown noticeably in just 3 days, already showing signs of understanding when she spoke. His blue skin sparkled in the morning light as he floated, a few inches above the grass, gurgling happily. Mom, what are you doing out here? It's freezing, said Sue, wrapping her sweater tighter around herself as she stepped outside. Hana hadn't yet told her children everything. She'd introduced Tay as the child of an old friend who needed emergency care, explaining away his unusual appearance as a rare genetic condition. To her surprise, 14-year-old Sue had accepted this with minimal questioning, too distracted by upcoming exams to dig deeper. Just getting some fresh air, Hana replied, watching as Tay quickly dropped to the ground, his third eye closing. The baby was learning to appear more human when others were around. Tay enjoys the morning light. Sue peered at the baby. His skin looks weird today, almost sparkly. Is that normal for his condition? Before Hana could answer, the crystal in her pocket vibrated urgently. She'd taken to carrying it everywhere, learning its functions bit by bit each night while the kids slept. Now it was warning her of something. Sue, can you take Ty inside? I think he needs to rest. Her daughter gave her an odd look but scooped up the baby, who remained perfectly still in her arms, playing the part of a normal human infant with uncanny precision. Once they were inside, Hana pulled out the crystal. Its surface rippled with dark purple warnings. Proximity alert, it stated in its neutral voice. 7th house vessel entering local atmosphere. Estimated arrival, 4 minutes. Hana's heart raced. According to the crystal's warning system, she'd expected them tomorrow. She'd planned to take the kids to their grandmother's house to face this confrontation alone. Now she had minutes to prepare, with both children at home. Defense options? She whispered to the crystal. Limited. Recommended action, diplomatic engagement with boundary enforcement. In plain English, please. Talk to them, but don't let them push you around, the crystal clarified, almost sounding like Day for a moment. A high-pitched whine filled the air, like a jet engine, but shriller. The neighbor's dog began barking frantically. Birds scattered from trees. In the distance, Hana could see what looked like heat waves bending the air, moving toward her property from the nearby woods. She sprinted inside. Jin, Sue, take Tay to the basement right now. Mom, what's going on? Jin appeared at the top of the stairs, alarmed. No time to explain. Please, just trust me. Go to the basement, close the door, and don't come out until I call you. Something in her voice must have convinced him because Jin didn't argue. He rushed to help Sue with the baby. Hana handed him the diaper bag she'd packed with Ty's special light sources. Whatever you hear, stay down there, she said, kissing his forehead. As her children disappeared downstairs, Hana turned to face the back door. The crystal had taught her some basic phrases in Day's language. She wasn't fluent, but she hoped it would be enough. The whining sound stopped abruptly. Silence fell, heavier than the noise had been. Then came 3 deliberate knocks on her back door. Taking a deep breath, Hana opened it. 3 figures stood on her porch. At first glance, they appeared human, but the illusion faltered at the edges. Skin too smooth, eyes too bright, movements too precise. 2 males and 1 female dressed in sleek gray clothing that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Dr. Hana Park, the female said, her voice melodic but cold. I am Lana of the 7th House of Lumina. These are my associates, Pel and Riv. Her English was perfect, though oddly accented. We've come for what belongs to us. Hana straightened her spine. Good morning. I was expecting you tomorrow. The trio exchanged surprised glances. Clearly, they hadn't expected her to know they were coming. You have something that doesn't belong to you, Lana continued. A child of royal blood and a significant inheritance. Both must be returned to Lumina. Immediately. Actually, Hana replied, forcing calm into her voice. I have exactly what belongs to me. Day left his child and his possessions to me legally. I have the will right here. She held up the crystal. Pel, the taller male, stepped forward. The will of a traitor means nothing. Day abandoned his duties, contaminated himself with Earth experiences, and stole royal property before fleeing. The child is Luminian royalty, and must be raised among its own kind. Hana had spent 3 sleepless nights studying the crystal's information about Luminian culture and biology. One fact had stood out to her. Despite their advanced technology, Luminians had evolved as prey species on their homeworld. They retained certain instinctual responses that Hana, as a veterinarian, recognized all too well. She took a deliberate step forward instead of backing away. All three visitors flinched slightly. Day wasn't a traitor, she said firmly. He was a visionary who understood that isolation was killing your civilization. He told me everything about the declining birth rates on Lumina, the stagnation of your culture. He wanted his child to experience both worlds. Riv, the stockier male, hissed softly. You know nothing of our world, human. I know enough, Hana replied. She took another step forward, maintaining direct eye contact with Lana. Another instinctual weakness. Luminians avoided prolonged eye contact, finding it intensely uncomfortable. Lana looked away first. The child has already formed bonds here, Hana continued. In your culture, early bonds are sacred, aren't they? To break them would cause developmental damage. She was improvising now, using fragments of information from the crystal, but she could see her words hitting home. The three visitors exchanged uneasy glances. Prove the bond, Lana demanded, if such a thing exists. As if on cue, a soft crying sound came from the basement, Tay's distinctive musical wail. Without thinking, Hana responded with the soothing whistle the crystal had taught her, a sound Luminian parents used to calm their children. Tay's crying stopped immediately. The three visitors stared at her in undisguised shock. How did you learn that? Pell whispered. Day taught me everything I need to know to care for his child, Hana said, not mentioning the crystal directly. He trusted me. He knew I would protect Tay with my life if necessary. Tay? Rive asked. The child's Earth name, Hana said firmly, though I'll make sure he knows his Luminian name as well. Lana's expression hardened. This changes nothing. We have authorization to reclaim the child and the inheritance by any means necessary. Hana felt fear flutter in her chest but pushed it down. Before you try anything, you should know that Day installed security measures. If anything happens to me, everything gets locked away in a trust that even your technology can't access for 100 Earth years. Day was always thorough. She had no idea if this was true, but the crystal had mentioned security protocols. She was gambling. The three aliens conferred in their own language, too rapidly for Hana to follow with her limited knowledge. Their discussion grew heated, with Riv gesturing emphatically toward the sky. Finally, Lana turned back to Hana. We will report this situation to the council. They will decide how to proceed. But know this, human, we will be watching. If the child shows any signs of distress or improper development, we will return, and next time we won't knock. With that threat hanging in the air, the three turned in perfect unison and walked toward the woods. They didn't look back. Hana waited until they disappeared from sight before sinking to her knees, her legs suddenly too weak to support her. The crystal in her hand pulsed warmly. Diplomatic boundary enforcement successful, it said approvingly. They'll be back, Hana whispered. Yes, the crystal agreed. But by then, you'll be ready. From the basement, she heard Tay's happy gurgle, followed by Sue's delighted laugh. Despite everything, Hana smiled. One battle down. Who knew how many more to? 2 weeks after the visit from the Luminians, Hana stood in her kitchen watching her children eat breakfast. On the surface, it looked like any ordinary morning. Jin hunched over his phone, Sue finishing math homework she'd left until the last minute, and little Tay in a high chair making happy gurgling sounds. But nothing was ordinary anymore. Mom, Tay's doing the thing again, Sue said without looking up from her equations. Hana turned to see Tay's breakfast spoon floating several inches above the high chair tray. The baby's third eye was half open, gleaming with concentration. Tay, remember what we talked about? Hana said gently. No floating things when we might have visitors. Jin snorted. Like we ever have visitors anymore. We've basically become hermits. He wasn't wrong. Since learning the full truth about Tay, both teenagers had accepted their extraordinary new brother with surprising adaptability. But the family had withdrawn from social life, afraid of outsiders discovering their secret. We're just being careful, Hana said, plucking the spoon from midair and handing it back to Tay, until we figure things out. Figure what out? that we're suddenly the guardians of the galaxy's richest baby? Jin rolled his eyes, but there was affection in his voice as he tousled Tay's wispy blue-white hair. Admit it, Mom. You have no plan. Hana sighed. That much was true. After the confrontation with the Luminians, she'd been learning everything she could from the crystal. Luminian culture, language, biology. But knowledge wasn't the same as having a plan. I'm working on it, she said, spreading jam on her toast. Sue closed her textbook. We should use some of the inheritance, just a little bit, enough to make things easier. Hana had been reluctant to touch Day's fortune. It felt wrong somehow, like she'd be taking advantage. But Sue had a point. Their current lifestyle wasn't sustainable. Between caring for Ty, working at the veterinary clinic, and staying up all night studying the crystal, Hana was exhausted. Maybe you're right, she admitted. But we have to be careful. Any unusual financial activity might attract attention. From the aliens or the IRS? Jin quipped. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the front door. Everyone froze. Since the Luminians' visit, unexpected knocks made them all nervous. Hana approached the door cautiously, peering through the peephole. She relaxed slightly when she saw her neighbor, Mr. Kim, an elderly retired astronomy professor who lived alone in the blue house across the street. Good morning, Dr. Park, he said when she opened the door. I hope I'm not interrupting your breakfast. Not at all, Mr. Kim. What can I do for you? The old man shifted uncomfortably. Well, it's a bit awkward. 2 weeks ago, I was doing some amateur sky observation. I have a telescope, you see. And I happened to witness something unusual near your property. Hana's heart sank. Unusual. A distortion in the air, like heat waves, but moving with purpose. And then 3 people emerged from it heading straight to your back door. He cleared his throat. People who didn't look quite right. Hana gripped the doorframe. Mr. Kim, please, he interrupted gently. I've spent my life studying the stars, wondering if we're alone. I know what I saw. His eyes were kind but intense. And I've seen the child too, through my kitchen window. The blue skin, the unusual movements. You don't have to pretend with me. Hana's mind raced. Could she trust him? But then, he'd known for 2 weeks and hadn't said anything to anyone. Would you like to come in for coffee? She asked finally. An hour later, Mr. Kim sat in her living room, cradling Tay in his arms with the wonder of a man who'd waited his entire life for this moment. Extraordinary, he whispered as Tay's third eye blinked at him curiously. Simply, extraordinary. Hana had told him everything. It was risky, but something told her Mr. Kim could be trusted. More importantly, they needed allies. You understand why this must remain secret, she said. If the wrong people found out about Tay, Mr. Kim nodded gravely. Of course. But Dr. Park, you cannot continue like this, isolated and afraid. You need help. He gestured to the crystal on the coffee table. May I? Hesitantly, Hana handed it to him. To her surprise, the crystal glowed a warm blue when it touched his hands. Fascinating, he murmured, examining it from all angles. The technology is beyond anything we've developed, but I recognize some theoretical principles. He looked up at her. I can help you understand it better, and perhaps help you develop a more sustainable situation for your family. Over the next month, Mr. Kim became an invaluable ally. As a respected astronomer with connections in the scientific community, he could access resources and information without raising suspicions. Together they began using small portions of Dai's inheritance, funneled through channels Mr. Kim helped establish. The first priority was securing their home. Using a combination of Earth technology and instructions from the crystal, they installed a system that would make the house appear ordinary from the outside while accommodating Tay's needs within. Special lights were installed throughout the house, providing the specific wavelengths Tay needed to thrive. Hidden panels in the walls could instantly hide any evidence of alien technology if unexpected visitors arrived. The basement was converted into a safe room where the family could retreat in emergencies. As they worked, something unexpected happened. The family began to heal from the shock and fear. Working together toward a common goal brought them closer. Jin discovered he had a talent for programming the hybrid technology, while Sue became fluent in Luminian faster than any of them, and Tay continued to develop at an astonishing rate. By the end of the month, he was already sitting up unassisted, his coordination far beyond that of a human infant. More remarkably, he began creating beautiful patterns of light that would hover in the air like living art. "Look," Sue exclaimed, one evening as they all sat in the living room. Tay had created a swirling galaxy of tiny lights above the coffee table. As they watched, the lights shifted, forming an image, Hana's face smiling. "He's showing us a memory," Mr. Kim said softly. "The way he sees you, Hana." Jin leaned forward, fascinated. "Can you show me too, little buddy?" Tay gurgled happily, and the lights reformed into Jin's face, then Sue's, then Mr. Kim's. Each image was infused with emotion, the family through Tay's eyes, filled with warmth and affection. "He loves us," Sue whispered, tears in her eyes. Hana felt something settle in her chest, a certainty that had been missing since Day's appearance on her doorstep. This strange, cobbled-together household wasn't just a temporary arrangement or a duty she'd accepted out of loyalty to an old friend. This was a family. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Hana sat with Mr. Kim on the back porch. The night was clear, stars stretching endlessly above them. "They'll come back, won't they?" she asked. "The Luminians." Mr. Kim nodded, his eyes on the stars. "Yes, but by then you won't be facing them alone." He pointed to a faint blue star barely visible in the northern sky. "That's their sun, according to the crystal star charts. So far away, yet now connected to us through Tay." Hana thought about how quickly her life had changed. Just a month ago, she'd been an ordinary veterinarian and single mother. Now she was guarding an interstellar fortune and raising a child who might someday unite two worlds. "I'm not sure I'm qualified for this job," she admitted. Mr. Kim smiled. "None of us are qualified for the most important things we do in life. We simply rise to meet them." He patted her hand. "Besides, Day chose you for a reason. He saw something in you that his own people had lost." "Compassion," Hana murmured, remembering Day's message. "That, and adaptation." Mr. Kim gestured toward the house, where hybrid technology now hummed quietly alongside ordinary appliances. "Humans are remarkably good at adapting, at finding ways to make the impossible work. That's what your family is doing every day." From inside came the soft blue glow of Tay's nightlight, designed to provide the specific spectrum he needed while he slept. Beyond that, the normal sounds of their home. Jin's music playing softly, Sue's voice as she talked on the phone with a friend, the hum of the refrigerator, different worlds somehow fitting together. "We're going to be okay," Hana said. And for the first time since this all began, she truly believed it. 6 months had passed since Day's arrival changed everything. The maple tree in Hana's front yard had shed its leaves, winter had come and gone, and now spring flowers dotted the lawn where Tay practiced hovering a few inches above the grass. At 11 months old, by Earth reckoning, he looked like a toddler of at least 2, his blue skin now shimmering with faint patterns that appeared and disappeared like clouds across a sky. "Higher, Tay, you can go higher," Jin called from the porch, recording his little brother on his phone. They'd learned that Luminian children developed their levitation abilities early, and Jin had appointed himself Tay's personal coach. Tay giggled, a sound like wind chimes, and rose another foot into the air. "Not too high," Hana warned, watching, from where she pruned the rose bushes. "Remember our rules." Their life had found a new rhythm. With Mr. Kim's help, they'd established a small foundation that allowed Hana to work fewer hours at the veterinary clinic. To the outside world, they appeared to be an ordinary family who'd come into a modest inheritance from a distant relative. Only a handful of people knew the truth. Hana wiped sweat from her forehead and looked up at the clear spring sky. No sign of trouble for months now. The Luminian visitors hadn't returned, though the crystal occasionally detected brief scans from orbit. They were being watched, but not approached. "Mom," Sue called from the back door. "The crystal's doing that pulsing thing again." Hana's stomach tightened. The crystal only pulsed that way for priority communications. She stripped off her gardening gloves and hurried inside, calling to Jin to bring Tai in. In the kitchen, the crystal floated above the table, projecting a holographic interface larger than Hana had ever seen it produced before. Mr. Kim was already there, adjusting his glasses as he studied the swirling symbols. "What is it?" Hana asked, settling Tai on her hip. The baby reached toward the hologram, his three eyes wide with recognition. "It appears to be a formal communication from Lumina," Mr. Kim said. "From someone called the High Council?" The crystal's voice filled the room. "Incoming transmission from the Luminian High Council. Diplomatic protocol suggested." Before Hana could respond, the hologram shifted. Where there had been abstract symbols, there now appeared the image of a being similar to Tay but much older. His blue skin was deeper in tone, marked with intricate patterns that seemed to indicate status or age. Behind him sat 6 others at a crescent-shaped table, all watching with unblinking three-eyed gazes. "Greetings, Dr. Hana Park of Earth," the central figure said, his English perfect but strangely musical. "I am Varen, first speaker of the Luminian High Council. We wish to speak with you regarding the child." Hana instinctively held Tay closer. "I'm listening." "For 6 of your Earth months we have observed," Varen continued. "Our representatives reported their findings and we have monitored from afar. It was unexpected to discover Day had entrusted our royal heir to a human caretaker." Jin moved protectively closer to Hana. Sue stood in the doorway, her posture tense. Only Mr. Kim seemed calm, watching the exchange with academic interest. "Tay is thriving here," Hana said firmly. "Your representatives saw that for themselves. He's happy, healthy, and learning both Earth and Luminian ways." Varen's head tilted slightly. "Yes, this is what our observations confirm. The child shows exceptional development, particularly in emotional ranges not typically seen in Luminian infants. This interests us greatly." There was a murmur among the other council members. One leaned forward to whisper something to Varen, who nodded. "Day was not merely a rebellious royal," Varen explained. "He was part of a research initiative studying the decline of our civilization. For 10,000 years, Lumina has advanced technologically while diminishing in other ways. Our birth rates fall, our emotional connections weaken, our creativity stagnates." His third eye fixed directly on Tay. "Day believed humans possessed qualities our species has lost." Tay suddenly squirmed in Hana's arms, reaching both hands toward the hologram. To everyone's surprise, tiny lights began to form in the air between the baby and the projection, a swirling pattern that gradually took shape, forming a miniature version of both Earth and what Hana recognized from the crystal's database as Lumina. The council members gasped collectively. "Light shaping at this age," one whispered. "Unprecedented." Varen's expression remained controlled, but his voice held a new note of respect. "We have come to offer a compromise, Dr. Park. Day's inheritance rightfully belongs to his child. We will not contest this. Furthermore, we propose that you and your family continue to raise the child on Earth until the age of maturity." Hana blinked in surprise. "You're not trying to take Tai back to Lumina?" "Not immediately," Varen clarified. "Upon reaching maturity, 20 Earth years, the child would return to Lumina for one cycle of education in our ways. Then, should the child choose, he may return to Earth as our ambassador, the first in a new era of connection between our worlds." Jin and Sue exchanged shocked glances. Mr. Kim's eyebrows shot up. "You want Tay to be a bridge between our planets?" Hana said slowly, understanding dawning. "Precisely. A being of royal blood who understands both Luminian technology and human emotion would be uniquely valuable." Day saw this potential. Perhaps we were slow to recognize his wisdom. Tay's light display had grown more complex, now showing tiny figures moving between the 2 planets. Hana wasn't sure if he understood the conversation or was simply responding to the emotions in the room, but the imagery was strikingly appropriate. What? About us? Sue asked suddenly. His family here? Varen's gaze shifted to her. You would not be separated. The inheritance includes interstellar transportation. Your family would have access to Lumina, just as the child would have access to Earth. 2 homes, 2 worlds. Hana felt dizzy with the implications. Not just raising an alien child, but potentially traveling to his homeworld someday. Becoming part of something so much larger than their little family. We need time to discuss this, she said finally. Of course. We will transmit the full details of our proposal through your communication crystal. Varen's third eye blinked once, slowly, a sign of respect in Luminian culture. Day chose better than even he may have known. The transmission ended, leaving the kitchen in stunned silence. Jin was the first to speak. So, we might go to another planet someday? Not just any planet, Mr. Kim said, his voice filled with wonder. A civilization thousands of years ahead of our own. Sue moved to Hana's side, placing a hand on Tae's back. Whatever we decide as a family, right? Tae's one of us now. Tae chose that moment to speak his first word. They'd been working on both Korean and English with him, along with the basic phonetic elements of Luminian that Mr. Kim had deciphered from the crystal. Family, he said clearly, his musical voice turning the simple word into something that sounded almost like a song. Hana felt tears spring to her eyes. That's right, she whispered, hugging him close. Family. That night, after the kids were asleep, Hana sat alone in the backyard, looking up at the stars with new eyes. Somewhere up there was Lumina, Tae's first home. But Earth was his home now, too. The back door opened and Mr. Kim joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. Quite a day, he said, handing her one of the cups. The biggest understatement of all time, Hana replied with a tired laugh. What will you do? Hana sipped her tea, considering. Accept their offer, I think. Tae deserves to know both worlds. And honestly, I'm curious about Lumina too. Mr. Kim nodded. The scientist in me is practically exploding with questions. He gazed upward. All those years I spent watching the stars, wondering if anyone was out there. And now we know. We're really going to do this, aren't we? Raise a child who might someday build a bridge between worlds. You already are doing it, Mr. Kim pointed out. Every day in 1,000 small ways. Reading him Earth stories at bedtime, teaching him Korean and English alongside his native language, showing him how to be human while honoring his Luminian heritage. From inside the house came a soft blue glow. Tae sometimes created light patterns in his sleep. Tonight, they could see the shape of their family home outlined in gentle blue light, visible through his bedroom window. Not exactly what I planned when I became a mom, Hana said softly. The best things rarely are, Mr. Kim replied. But look at what you've gained. Not just an extraordinary child, but a place in something much bigger than ourselves. A chance to help shape the future relationship between 2 worlds. Hana thought about the last 6 months, the fear and uncertainty giving way to wonder and discovery. She thought about Jin teaching Tae to play video games, about Sue singing Korean lullabies to him, about Mr. Kim explaining constellations while the baby listened with all 3 eyes wide open. She thought about Day and what he'd seen in her that made him entrust her with something so precious. Family, she whispered, echoing Tae's first word. Whether on Earth or somewhere among the stars, that's what they would always be. Above them, a shooting star traced a brilliant path across the night sky. Hana made a wish, not just for her family, but for 2 worlds that might someday understand each other a little better because of one small blue child who belonged to both.